Hey everyone, welcome to day 38, and today we'll be building the user management functionality and the profile related part. All right, so let's get started with today's lesson. So we'll begin by integrating Firebase in our project. So let's go to console.firebase.google.com. Let's add a new project. Okay, let's call it as Netflix clone. Let's disable the analytics. All right, so this part is done. Let's go inside the project and let's click on web, and we will say Netflix clone Devsnest. All right, let's click on register app. So this will register a web app within our project. You can also create an iOS app or uh, a web app or another kind of app. So let's install Firebase now. All right. So while it's installing that, let me copy this piece of code which has been provided by them, and let's go to the console. All right, and in the meantime, while it is doing the downloading part, okay, it's completed with that. Let's create a hook, a custom hook for this. So auth.tsx, and I'll just paste this code which we got from the Firebase app. Let's click on get started under authentication, and then we have different options available over here. We'll pick email and password, and we'll click on enable, and let's click on save. All right, um, let's go to users and let's open temp mail. Wait, temp temp, yeah, this one. I'll share this link in the chat. Okay, so it's given us email ID. Let's copy that and let's add a user with that email. Not this. Okay, and let's just give the password test123. Okay, let's add this user, and now let's integrate Firebase auth in our project. All right, so I'll just increase the font a little bit, collapse the side menu. So what we want to do over here is we want to set up the authentication app. So we will say const auth equals initialize app, sorry, not initialize app, we'll say get auth, and this auth we are getting from a package within Firebase. So we will say import get auth from Firebase slash app slash, not Firebase slash app, we'll say Firebase slash auth. All right. And then here we will pass the app instance to the auth object. And then we will create a custom provider which we will use to share this auth object and its related functionality throughout the app, so that it is easier for us to manage the user and access all of the functionality throughout the app. So for that, what we will do is we will create a context. Okay. But before that, we'll create a custom hook known as use provide auth. So this functionality is similar to what we had done in the e-commerce app. All right. Use provide auth. And then we'll say const user set user equals use state. This is of the user type which is coming from Firebase auth, and initially we'll set this to null, and here we'll use a union type and set this and say that it can either contain a user or it can be a null value. And let's create the different functions that we need. So const sign up equals email. So we'll accept an email and a password, which is string. And what this will do is this is going to return create username with email and password. So this is available in this package. And then we will pass the auth object, and we will pass the email and the password. Once it is available to us, we should get an instance of the user, right? Once we have successfully logged in, created a new user. And at that point of time, we will say set user, and we will also return the user. All right. So we have this, and then we will return this function sign up, and we will also return the user. Let's create the next function const sign in, and for that also we will provide a email which is of type string, and password which is once again string, and this will call the function sign with email and password. We'll pass the email and the password that this function receives, and once the result is available, we should get a user object, and we will say set user with the user and return the user as well. All right, so sign up, sign in, and then we also need to sign out the user. So we'll say sign out user equals, so we'll just call the sign out function which is available in Firebase auth. We'll pass the user, and once this has happened, then the user should be logged out, right? So in that scenario, we'll say set user, and we will set the user to null. Okay. All right. What is the problem that it is saying? User is not the, what is it saying? Okay, I forgot to pass auth over here. All right. And then let's expose this as sign out sign out user. Okay. So this is what this function is doing, and yeah, we'll also have a use effect here. So use effect, here we will say that const unsubscribe. So there is a event available known as on auth state changed, and we will use that to detect if there are any changes to the user object, and whenever there are any changes we will update the user. Okay, so when this happens we'll get a user object, and we will check if the user is there, then we'll say set user, otherwise set user to null, and here we will say we will call the unsubscribe function, and this is not dependent on anything, and we need to import the use effect hook. Okay, then we will create a context which will basically uh, return the value provided by this custom hook throughout the app. So we will say we will create a type auth context type equals whatever is the return type of type of use provide auth. So we will say not export, we need to say const and this needs to be not like this. Sorry, we're creating a new type, so const type, not sorry, not const, just type. We're creating a new TypeScript type over here, and this is of the type which is returned by this whatever is the return value, right, given by this function. Its return type, whatever is the return type, okay, of that that type we are assigning to this object, right? So if we make any modifications to its return type, it will automatically update this type. Okay, so you can see over here it is saying auth context type. It has all of the function returned by this use provide hook, sorry, use provide auth hook. All right, okay, then the next thing that we want to do is we want to create a context. So const auth context equals create context, and we will assign it a null value, and its type is auth context type, or it can also hold a null value. And then we will create a provider which will expose this. So const auth provider equals, so this is going to accept children, and let's give a type for this. So children, this is react. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, react element, or it can be an array of react element. All right, and basically we will say over here that const auth equals use provide auth, right? Whatever is the value returned by this, and we want to assign this to the uh, provider. So auth context dot provider, and value equals uh, the value returned by this, which is nothing but auth. And here we will wrap this context provider around the children. Okay, and this needs to be an arrow function, so it will be like this. Okay, and let's export this. All right, and let's create a new hook. Export const use auth equals use context, and this is going to return the auth context. All right, so this is ready. Now what we will do is we will integrate this hook and the provider inside the app. So we'll go inside the app component, and here we will say that the auth provider is available throughout the app. And to make it available, we will uh, wrap the router around the app provider so that it is available to all the routes in the project. And the next thing that we will do is we'll go to the login page, and here we will work on the login functionality. Okay, so this is basically react.synthetic event, and we will say that the email and password is event.target as type of event.target, and we will say that email is HTML input element. Similarly, password is also HTML input element, right? So this is just to generate the types for these. And then here what we will do is we'll make use of the hook that we just created. So const user actually not user, we need to say equals use auth, and this should basically give us access to the sign in function. Okay, since we have the same name over here, let's rename this to authenticate user. All right, and here we will say that sign in with email.value and password.value. Let's make this async, and let's store the result. This will give us the logged in users information. So let's wait for the this asynchronous operation to yield a result, which is undefined. Okay, just one sec, we'll get back to this. And here we'll check if user is there. In that case, we want to navigate, so we'll say const navigate equals use navigate, and we will navigate uh, to the default route over here. All right, so it is saying which is possibly undefined. Just a second, let me just cross check once if I've defined all the types correctly. Okay, one sec. So here what I need to do is this is going to be this, or this can be an empty object which is of auth context type, and here we will just say use auth like this, and here we have that functionality. So let's check if the sign in functionality is working. So this was the user which we had created. Let's copy this and let's paste, and the password was test123, test123 sign in. So you can see that the sign in happened correctly and it has taken us to the uh, default view. All right, so this part is done. Now let's make some changes to the routing structure also. So here what we will do is let's make this a separate route, and here we will also, on this route we want to show the profiles page basically. Once you're logged in, which profile do you want to use for your account? So let's create a page over here. Let's call it as profiles.tsx, and we'll say React functional component. This is going to return the profiles page. And so over here, the default route, which is the index, which will point to the profile page or the profile component. I call this as profiles. Okay. Let me just rename this to profile. Okay. All right. And then we will have the browse view basically. And then when we are at the browse, it's going to return a layout, and then this is the element inside that. And similarly, we will have the path for latest, and then login is outside. All right, and here what we will say is that this is going to return an outlet. Okay, so you can see that at this path it is taking us to the profile. When we say slash login, it is taking us to login, and when we are saying slash browse, it is taking us to the browse view. All right, and now what we want to do is all of these routes, the ones which come under this, they should only be accessible once the user has logged in. Okay, so what we will do here is that we will create a protected route. So this is also going to accept children, and children are of type react element. And basically here we will use the auth hook. So user equals use auth, and we will check if user, uh, if not user, then we will return navigate component from React router DOM, and we want to go to the login route. Okay, otherwise we return the children as it is. Okay, so not else, we can just say return children here, and then we will wrap this outlet around, we will put this outlet inside the protected route. Okay, so let's see, let's try and go to, for example, browse now. So it has taken us back to login since we are not logged in right now. Let's copy this user, and here we'll say test123 sign in. Wait, what? Firebase error, invalid email. Test123. Okay, so we got the user. Why is it taking us back to user is not there, it should take us to login. Let's go inside the app tsx file and let's see what is happening here. Why is this coming as null? Okay, one sec. Let's try and put this inside a use effect. So here we'll check if user is there, then set is logged into true, else set is logged into false. And here we'll just check if not logged in, then we do this. Okay. All right, there's some issue. So what we will do is, for the time being, we'll come back to this later on. For now, let's just leave it as it is. So once we log in, it should take us to the profiles page. Now let's start working on the profiles page, and we'll come back to this a bit later on and see what is the issue. Okay. So what we will do is, we have the profile page, and this is basically going to return an article. Let's give this a class grid. Let's give it a minimum height of the screen, and we'll say place items center and place content center. And let's create a component. Let's call it as profiles.tsx. Okay. So there's a message from Deepak. Yeah, so there's no problems. You can watch the recorded sessions also, whatever suits you. If it's not possible for you to watch the live sessions, then yeah, there's no harm in watching the recorded ones. But yeah, I mean, if you are able to watch it live, it's better that way. But no problems if you can't manage to watch it live. All right. So this is what we will return over here, profiles. So we will return the list of profiles. Wait, hang on, let's save this. Okay, so here it is returning, here we're returning the list of profiles. And what you want to do here is let this, so we're trying to work on this functionality now. We log into the original Netflix. So we want to build this screen who's watching the profiles which are there, and then when we click on manage profiles, it takes us to this view, and then when you click on this, we have some options to edit the profile. Okay, so this is the functionality that we're trying to build right now. All right, so we will have a heading over here which is going to say, so based on the mode, if it's edit, for example, we want to show something else. So this is Boolean value. Okay. And let's create a variable const heading. If it's edit, then we will say who's watching. Otherwise, we will say manage profiles. Okay, so there are a few questions in the chat. Once we take a short break, I'll answer those. Okay, I'll get back to you. And we will display the heading over here. Okay, and we will also create a section over here basically for displaying all the profiles, and then we will create so if we take a look over here, we have a section for this, and then we have this button manage profiles. So we will do something over here as well. So if it's edit, right, we want to do something here. And if it's not edit, we will show the text right now. Just edit profile. Okay. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Let's create a button type which we will need for the profile. So we'll create a button called profile button. This will have a button type and let's set that to primary right now. And this will also have some props. Let's define a type for this. So button type is one of these, primary or secondary. Okay, and this is the props are the props that you can assign to any button. So we'll say react.html attributes of the HTML button element. Okay, and basically this is going to return a button, and we will say that the contents of the button will be props dot children, and the it will get all the props that a regular button gets. So we'll just spread those properties, and we'll give it a class which is like this. So by default we want to give it a we'll come to this. So here what we want to do is when it's edit mode, right, we want to show a button over here, profile button, and this has the not edit, manage profiles text. And let's make this optional. Okay, so you can see that this button is visible. Okay, and let's give some styling for this button. So by default it has a padding y2 and a padding in the x direction of 4, and let's give it a default size of text XL. And now let's add some more styling here. So here what we want to check is if the button type equals primary, right? We want to give some one kind of styling, and if it's secondary we want to give another kind of styling. Okay, so when it is primary we want to give it a background gray of 100. We want to say the text is dark, and when we hover on it we want to give it the Netflix red background color, and when we hover on it we also want to give it a text which is white. Similarly, when it is the secondary, in that case we wanted to have a border. The border should be white and the text should be gray. The shade should be 400, and when we hover on it this should have the text as white as well. Okay, so right now this is the style which is getting applied for the primary button, but that is not what we're looking for here. So we will set the type for this as the button type as secondary, so that it is looking like this. All right. What is going on here? So when we hover on this, the text should be white. Why is this not okay? Text hyphen white. Okay. So now you can see that this is working. All right. And now let's start working on the profile part. Let's give this a class which is text. Let's make it 6XL, and let's create a component for the cards. So function profile card. Okay, and here we'll say this is going to return a section, and basically this will have another section which will have the image. So right now let's show this image that we have, Netflix profile. Let's import this. Let's show default image for now. Profile image from actually let's do one thing. Let's just give it a source over here like slash and the alternate text is user profile image. Okay, and let's show a heading over here which is nothing but the name of the user. So class name, or the name of the profile. So profile name here, and let's give it text XL. Okay, let's paste, let's add this component here. So we will have the profile card component, and edit equals whatever is the value of edit. All right, so we have this, and we can have multiple of these, right? Okay, so we need to style these. So we'll create a section and move all of these in here. Let's give this a class flex and user gap of 4. Okay, all right, and let's style this now. So what we want is, let's give this a display of flex, and let's give it flex column, and we will say place items center. Okay, let's give a gap of 2. I'll get back to the questions in the chat. Just let's finish up this part. We'll take a break and then I'll answer all of your questions. Text gray 400, and when we hover on this, we want to give it a white color text. And let's okay. And let's say that this has a cursor which is pointer. All right. And now let's style this. So class name, this has a height of 10, viewport width, and a width which is also 10 times the viewport width. Okay, then let's define some max height and min height for this as well. So max height, it can go maximum up to 200, and the same for the width. So max width is also up to 200 pixels, and the min width is 84, and similarly let's give this as the height as well. So max h of 84. Okay, wait. The max height got messed up. Let's copy this. Max width 200. Okay. And then we want to say that the overflow is hidden. Let's give it a rounded medium border, and when we hover on it, we want to give it a border, and we want to border of 4, and also when we hover on it, we want to give it a border which is gray, border gray 100 shade. Okay, so this is the effect that we are trying to get. All right, and another thing that we want to do is when we are in the edit mode, right, we want to show a edit button. Otherwise we want to show nothing. Okay, let's give some margin over here. Margin from the bottom of 8. And also let's give some margin for the profile button. So we will say class name margin top 8, and inside this we want it to allow that it accepts the classes which we are setting. So dollar props dot class name. Okay, so these were the default classes, and if you want to add any additional classes, that is how we will pass those. All right, and then what we want to do is when we um, click on this button, we want to open the manage profiles page. So const navigate equals use navigate, and we will say on click function edit profiles, and sorry, not edit, manage profiles, and we want to navigate to a new route which is manage profiles. Okay, and here we will call the manage profiles function. So this will receive a prop known as edit. By default it is false, and its type is boolean, and we will set edit to whatever is the value of edit. Okay, and inside, and let's make this as a optional prop. Let's go inside app, let's create a route for the edit profile. So when the manage profiles route path is manage profiles, in that case also we will display the profile page, but this time we will set edit attribute to it, so that edit is set to true, and we forgot to close this route. Okay, now when we click on manage profiles, it is taking us to the manage profiles page. All right, and now you do not see the manage profile button. Okay, let's go back to this component. All right, another thing that we want to do is so when we are here, right, when we are on the edit view of this, we want to show the edit icon. So let's import the pencil icon from hero icons, say 24 slash outline slash pencil icon. All right, and here when we are in the edit mode, inside this we will show the pencil icon. Let's give this a class. Width should be 25% of whatever is the width of its parent, and the text should be white. And let's style this as well. So if we take a look at this over here, when we click on manage, the edit icon is there, and the area is slightly, faded. Yeah. So let's give the same effect here as well. So we need to make this as relative, and we will make this as absolute, so that it covers the entire, so that it is absolute with respect to this element, absolutely positioned. And we will say inset 0, and now you can see that this pencil or edit icon is appearing. Here we will say this is grid, and place items in the center. So now that edit icon is appearing in the center, let's give this a bg black background, and let's give it an opacity of 50%. Right, so we have that effect. Okay, and now what we want to do is, when we click on this, we want to basically show a dialog. So, but before we get to that part, let's take a short break over here, and I'll answer your queries from the chat. Okay, so there's a question from Rutvik. You've learned CSS but not able to build basic websites. Um, you can. So where are you facing the problems? If the if you're having problems about the initial properties, what I would suggest is you go through the assignments, the take home assignments. All of the resources are also there, and you can try, you can go through those resources. There is a very good resource available on web.dev, right, which is this one. Okay, not this. Web.dev. So you go to web.dev, learn, and then just search for, let's see, CSS. Wait, yeah. So they have many courses over here. One of them is Learn CSS. You can go through this. This has all the fundamentals, right? And they have interact, and the topics which are not clear to you, for example box model is not clear to you, they have a interactive playground as well. You can change the things over here, for example change the width to 200, and you can see that it is showing those changes over here. So this is a very good resource that you can learn and play around at the same time, and it has all the topics. And I would also suggest that you go through the topics which we have covered. You revisit those sessions and try to build things. It will take some time. Okay, just do not worry about it. It will take a little bit of time, uh, but you will get the hang of it. It takes some time to understand CSS. Okay, and then there's a question, which is better, Node.js framework, Express or Nest? So both of them have their own advantages, and depending on the complexity, right, what you're trying to build. So Nest.js is modeled around Angular, the architecture of Angular, right? It has all of those concepts of dependency injection and all, and modules and all of those things. So there's no harm in learning Next.js, but it is very, I would say, it is a bit, advanced. So you can begin with Express, right? You can do a couple of projects using Express, and then you can move on to Nest.js. Okay. Once you're familiar with the concepts, so you can't say like which is better or not. Like if you're building a very large scale application, in that case Nest.js would be better because it is a proper framework. It follows certain architectural patterns which are, beneficial when you're working on a large project. But when you're building a very simple project, something small scale, then it might be easier to use Express, and understand it. So initially you can start with Express to understand the concepts, and then you can move on to Nest.js. Okay. Under the hood, I think it uses Express.js, or it can use other frameworks as well. Uh, Nest.js under the hood, I think it uses Express, or it can use other providers as well. So there's no, you can't say like one is better than the other. It is dependent on the requirement of your project. If you have more doubts, you can ask me in the chat. Okay, let's work on the next part. So we have this add profile button as well. So let's work on that now. Let's create a component for that add profile. And this will have a section which will have a button, and inside this button we want to show the plus circle. So we need to import this from hero icons, okay. And here, once we have shown all the profile cards, we will have one add profile component. This needs to return this. Return. Okay. Let's style this now. So we will give this a class which is flex. We'll say cursor is pointer. We will specify that this is flex column. Say place items center, and we will give a gap of 2, and we will say text is gray and the shade is 400. Let's give this some styling as well. So this will have the same styling as that of the of the card. So all the dimensions would be similar to this. Let's copy this and paste this here. All right. And let's give this a class. Its width is 75% of its container. Okay, and when we hover over this, so hover border gray 100, and when we hover, also when we are hovering, we want to say that the background is gray 400, and we also need to give a text color. So the text, when we hover, the text is white. All right. And here also we want this icon to be placed in the middle, so we will say grid and place items center. All right, so we have this effect. Right, so somewhat similar. Okay, so this part is done. The next thing that we want to do is let's create another component that when we click on this, it opens a dialog which we will use for editing the user's profile. So let's create a component function edit profile. And basically this is going to return the modal which we had created earlier. And let's close this. And this is going to get some props. Let's give this a type. So is open, this is going to be boolean. Then on close, this will get a value which is also boolean, and this is going to return void. This will get a title which is string, and whether we can edit this or not. So this is going to be boolean as well. So we will use this to, when we click on add new profile, in that scenario also we will be using this same dialog. And then basically we'll say dot 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 props, and let's see, this is going to return a section, so which is going to take up the entire screen, and the width is also going to be of the screen size. What is it saying? Okay, so close modal is a optional function, and here we will say that if close modal is defined, only then we call it when the mouse, because we do not want this functionality in all places that whenever we hover outside the modal dialog it should close. That was something only needed for the movie card preview functionality. All right, so that change is done. And here we will have another section. Okay, let's give it a class name. Let's give it a margin auto, and margin in the vertical direction is 16 and its max width is 4xl. All right, let's do one thing. So let's create a state for this. Use state is edit is profile editor open. Let's set this to false. Let's import this state. And here we will say that when we are in the edit mode, we want to show the profile button with the text done, and we also want to show the edit profile component, and we will say that edit equals edit is open equals editor is profile editor open, title is empty, and we'll say on close function close editor, and here we will say set is editor open to false. Close editor. Okay. All right, so you can see that we are seeing this done button as well as these edit icons. When you click on edit, hang on a second. Let's see. Modal editor edit. Why is it not? Okay, we need to. Uh, so whenever we were clicking on this, right? Where is the profile card component? Right, so whenever we click on this, we want to basically open the modal dialog, right? So we will say on click, and this will also get another property on edit click. So basically this is going to be a function, and this is going to return void, and here we will have on edit click. Okay, on edit click we will pass it a function, open editor. And you'll say set is profile editor to true. Okay, there's still some issue here. Okay, I need to wire this with the on edit click. All right, when you click on this, you can see that it opened this modal editor basically. All right. Now let's work on this functionality of the editor. Let's style this. So this will have a heading which will say, let's create a variable here, const heading equals, if it's the edit mode, then we will say edit profile, otherwise we'll say add profile, and we will, okay, if here we will say props.edit, right, and here we will show the heading. Okay, let's give this some styling. So this will have text 6xl, let's give a margin bottom of 4, and this should be max width for XL. Okay, so it is appearing like this in the center. Right now I have shrunk the size of the screen, so that is why it is looking like this. Okay, once we have the heading, let's create another section, and this is going to be grid, and we'll say grid columns. We will have two columns, one of size 200 pixels and the other one is going to be auto sized. Give a gap of 4, a border towards the top and the border towards the bottom, and we'll say uh, we'll give a padding of 4, and we'll say text gray 400. Okay, and then outside of this we will have another section. This will have the profile button. The first one is going to have the text as save. The next one is going to have the text as cancel. The button type is going to be secondary. All right. Okay. Let's style this. We will say from the top it has a margin of 8. We will say it uses flexbox and there's a gap of 4. And when we are hovering over this, it becomes like this, and then this is for the cancel. And when we function cancel edit, in that case we will basically call the on close props dot on close, and we will set the value to false. And we will say when we click on this, we are saying cancel edit. Okay, so this is for that. And this is the section where we'll be adding some controls. So we will not be building the entire functionality, just the possibility to edit the user's image, the user's name. Okay, so here let's leave this part for the profile image. So we will just say slash what was the image URL, this we'll just pass this over here. Profile image, this is the alternate text, and we have another section for accepting the username. So input type text, let's give a class width is full, let's give a background zinc 500, padding of 2, and the outline is none. So you can see that this box is appearing, outline none. Let's give a placeholder, enter name for the profile. Let's change the text from 400 to 100. Okay. And let's say class aspect square rounded medium, and we will also say overflow. All right, so we are showing the profile image, and then so this dialog has also been built completely. All right, so what we will do is we'll stop the session here. We'll work on the remaining functionality tomorrow. If you have any more doubts, you can ask me in the Discord channel right after this session. So yeah, let's end this here, and take care. Have a wonderful time ahead, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay.